She didn't just leave. She erased you. Let that sink in. This isn't about heartbreak. Heartbreak is a clean wound. This was a strategic demolition. You're sitting in the rubble of a life you thought you were building, while she's cutting the ribbon on a new empire built on the ashes of your shared history. And the world, in its infinite, pathetic wisdom, offers you the same hollow advice. Just move on, man. Hit the gym. Focus on yourself. They treat a tactical dismantling as if it were a scraped knee. They are fools. And by listening to them, you become one too. She didn't break up with you. She graduated from you. You were a necessary chapter, a stepping stone, and the moment your utility expired, she closed the book without a second thought. You're agonizing over the memories, replaying every conversation, searching for the crack where it all went wrong. Meanwhile, she was conducting a cost-benefit analysis. She wasn't your partner, she was your project manager, and the project, the version of life that included you, was no longer profitable. The termination of your contract was executed with cold corporate efficiency. You look at her now, through the distorted lens of a screen, and you don't even recognize the woman you see. It's a complete system overhaul. The way she stands, the calculated confidence in her eyes, the ruthless curation of her new life. Every photo is a press release announcing her upgrade. Every post is a meticulously crafted testament to her resilience, a public declaration that you were not the architect of her happiness, but the cage she finally escaped. She isn't healing, she is rebranding, she is building an armor-plated new identity, and the first piece of that armor was shedding you. You thought her tears were for the loss of you. A fatal miscalculation. Her tears were for the time she believed she had wasted. They were the fuel for her reinvention. You operate on an outdated emotional software. You believe in shared vulnerability, in building something together, in the sanctity of a shared past. She is running on the 2025 operating system, radical self-preservation, social market value optimization, and the complete and total weaponization of indifference. Your pain is not a tragedy to her. It is simply irrelevant data, collateral damage in her personal market correction. Philosopher Sun Tzu wrote, "The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting." She never declared war. She simply made you obsolete. She won before you even knew you were on the battlefield. You were checkmated in a game you didn't even know you were playing. You were looking for a soulmate while she was scouting for an asset, and when the asset depreciated, she liquidated. You're haunted by one question that churns in your gut, keeping you awake in the dead of night. How? How did the woman who once looked at you with what you mistook for unconditional love become this cold, strategic operator? How did she flip a switch and delete years of history as if it were a corrupted file? You think you want her back, but you don't. You can't get back something that never truly existed in the form you believed. What you truly crave is the answer. You crave the playbook, because you have a terrifying suspicion that she is not an anomaly. You suspect she is the new model, and you were left with an owner's manual for a machine that no longer exists. The real question isn't how to survive her departure. It's how to understand the brutal, efficient, and merciless system she used to execute it, so that you are never, ever dismantled like this again. If this cold truth resonates in the hollow space where your illusions used to be, then you have found your command center. This is not a place for consolation. This is a place for strategy. Subscribe to this channel and activate all notifications. Consider it your war bell. It will ring when a new strategy is ready for deployment. Like this transmission to signal you are ready to abandon the mindset of the victim and adopt the mindset of the strategist. And in the comments below, I want to know the territory you are broadcasting from. Where in the world are you tonight? Finally ready to learn the unwritten rules of this new game. Let the world know your position. Your re-education begins now. Your collapse was not an earthquake. It was erosion. A slow, silent, methodical washing away of the very ground you stood on. You're looking for a single moment of betrayal, a single catastrophic event. But you will not find. Your authority was not taken from you in a violent coup. You gave it away, piece by piece, in a series of quiet, unceremonious surrenders. This is the cold deconstruction of your fall. This is the autopsy. You must look at the body on the table, even if it is your own. The first phase was emotional concession. It began subtly, masked as kindness, as the action of a good man. It started with a test. She was in a bad mood, a storm brewing over something trivial. A comment you made, a plan you had. You had a commitment, something for yourself. A night with your friends, a project you were working on, time at the gym. It was a pillar in your own life. And she presented her emotional state as a direct conflict to it. She didn't forbid you. That would be too obvious. Instead, she sighed. She projected an aura of disappointment, of subtle injury. The air in the room grew heavy. You felt it as a pressure, a responsibility to fix her mood. You believed that restoring her immediate emotional comfort was your primary duty. So you yielded. You canceled your plans. You apologized for something you didn't do. You chose to manage her feelings instead of honoring your own word to yourself. In that moment, you thought you were a peacemaker. In reality, you were a traitor to your own sovereignty. She tested. You yielded. She won. You taught her a critical lesson. Her emotional state is your command. Her feelings are now the operating principle of your life. Every time you did this, you handed her a small piece of your spine. You thought you were buying peace. You were funding a war against yourself. This led directly to the second phase, the loss of frame control. A man's frame is his reality. It is his perception of the world, his principles, his mission. Initially, she entered your world, your frame. But after a series of successful emotional concessions, she began to superimpose her frame over yours. It started with your friends. One of them was too loud, or a bad influence. She didn't demand you stop seeing him. Instead, she would subtly withdraw, become cold whenever you mentioned his name. Soon you found yourself preemptively defending your friend to her, and then eventually seeing him less, just to avoid the atmospheric drop. Your reality was being edited. It happened with your ambitions. You had a goal, a business idea, a career move that involved risk. She would express concern. She would frame her fear as a form of love, of protection. Just worry about you, she'd say. What if it doesn't work out? We're so good right now. Your ambition was reframed as a threat to her security. You started to see your own dreams through her lens of fear. You began to doubt yourself. The battlefield had shifted. You were no longer the architect of your life, defending your blueprint. You were a visitor in her world, constantly asking for permission, justifying your existence. At work, this is the employee who stops proposing bold ideas after his boss expresses mild skepticism just once. In friendship, this is the man who changes his personality to fit in with a new group. You lost control of the narrative. And the moment the story is no longer yours, you become a secondary character in your own life. From there, you descended into the third, and perhaps most pathetic phase, the quest for validation. Having surrendered your own principles and worldview, you had no internal source of self-worth. Your emotional state became entirely dependent on external feedback, specifically, her feedback. You began to operate not from a place of authentic action, but from a desperate need for her approval. You didn't do things because you wanted to. You did them to get a positive reaction from her. The surprise gift wasn't a genuine expression of affection. It was a bid for a smile that would make you feel good about yourself for a few hours. You would post a photo of the two of you online, and then compulsively check your phone, waiting for her to comment, to publicly validate your relationship. Her approval was a drug, and you were becoming an addict. Her silence became a weapon of immense power. Her silence is dominance, not inattention. She was pleased, you were stable. When she was distant or quiet, you were thrown into a state of panic, of desperate analysis. What did I do wrong? What do I need to do to fix it? You became a performing animal, constantly trying to figure out the trick that would earn you a reward. You were no longer her partner. You were her supplicant. You were begging for scraps of approval from the throne you had willingly built for her. This addiction inevitably metastasized into the fourth phase, affective dependency. This is the point of no return for most men. Here, the fear of her leaving becomes the central organizing principle of your entire existence. It is a low-grade, constant terror humming in the background of your every thought. Stop disagreeing with her on anything significant. You avoided any and all conflict, because conflict contained the risk of her disapproval. Disapproval was a prelude to her departure. Your life became a complex series of maneuvers designed to prevent her. You sacrificed your hobbies, your passions, your very identity, because you convinced yourself they were not as important as maintaining the relationship. You became boring. You became predictable. You smothered her with a neediness that you disguised as love. You thought that by making yourself indispensable to her logistical life, running her errands, fixing things in the house, funding her lifestyle, you could secure your position. But you were just making yourself a useful appliance. An appliance is convenient. An appliance is functional. An appliance is never, ever desired. It is easily replaced with a newer model. You made her the sun in your solar system, and in doing so, you became a dead, barren moon, only capable of reflecting her light. You forgot the fundamental law of the universe. The sun does not orbit the planets. The planets orbit the sun. No one is coming to save you. You built this prison yourself, bar by bar, with your own fear. The final, fatal act was breaking the silence. This was the moment of complete and total surrender. After weeks or months of feeling her distance, of sensing her growing contempt, the fear became unbearable. You couldn't contain it any longer. And so, in a moment of profound weakness, you initiated the talk. You sat her down, your voice trembling, and you asked the questions that confirmed you held no power whatsoever. Is everything okay? I feel like you've been distant lately. Do you still love me? You thought you were opening a channel for honest communication. You were dead wrong. You were holding up a white flag and broadcasting your desperation to the entire world. You were revealing your entire strategic position. You showed her that you were insecure. You showed her that you were afraid. You showed her that her emotional state had complete dominion over yours. You gave her verbal confirmation of what she already knew instinctively. That you were no longer the man she chose. You were a boy, asking his mother for reassurance. In that moment, all remaining attraction, all lingering respect, evaporated. It was an irreversible error. And when you apologized for being needy, for being insecure, for asking for reassurance, you didn't just apologize. When you apologized, you signed your surrender. You validated her decision to mentally and emotionally check out of the relationship long before her physical departure. She tested you one last time with her silence and distance, and you failed. Now, I can hear the objections firing off in your mind, the last stand of the blue-pilled programming you've been fed your entire life. But relationships are about compromise. You have to be vulnerable. Communication is key. Let's dismantle this faulty logic with the cold steel it deserves. You confuse compromise with capitulation. Compromise is when two sovereign powers meet at a negotiating table to reach a mutually beneficial agreement. Capitulation is when you abandon your position entirely to appease the other side. You were not compromising. You were surrendering territory, consistently, without gaining anything in return. You mistake neediness for vulnerability. Strategic vulnerability is revealing a calculated part of yourself from a position of unshakable strength. It builds trust. Neediness is exposing your emotional voids and begging another person to fill them. It reveals a fundamental weakness in your own foundation, and it inspires nothing but contempt. And your idea of communication was not a strategic exchange of information. It was a plea for emotional regulation. You weren't trying to solve a problem. You were trying to get her to soothe your anxiety. That is not the role of a partner. That is the role of a therapist or a mother. Another objection. So I'm supposed to be a cold, emotionless machine? A heartless monster? This is the binary thinking of a child. This is not about feeling no emotion. It is about achieving emotional control. You are to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. A thermometer merely reflects the temperature of the room. It is reactive. If the room is hot, it is hot. If the room is cold, it is cold. You have been a thermometer. Your emotional state a direct reflection of hers. A thermostat sets the temperature. It dictates the conditions of the environment. It is proactive. Your emotions must be your tools, not your masters. Your internal state must be generated from within, by your purpose, by your mission, not dictated by her moods or the chaos of the outside world. Fall isn't visible. It doesn't announce itself. It happens in the silence, in the hesitation before you speak your truth. It happens in the yes you say when your entire being is screaming no. It happens in the thousand small concessions that feel like nothing in the moment, but accumulate into a debt of self-respect so large you can never repay it. This dissection is not meant to comfort you. It is meant to burn. It is meant to cauterize the wound so that the infection of your old mindset can finally be purged. This cold diagnosis has hit a nerve. If you recognize your own story in this brutal autopsy, then your real work is just beginning. Acknowledge this truth by liking this video. It is your signal that you are done with self-deception. Subscribe to the channel and activate all notifications, because each transmission is a tool for the war ahead. And now, I want you to perform a diagnostic of your own. Go to the comments and answer this, with complete and brutal honesty. What was the one small compromise you made? The one seemingly insignificant concession that you now realize was the first hairline crack in the foundation of your authority? Name the moment you first chose her comfort over your own principles. Let us all bear witness to the moments where the erosion began. There is no going back for the weak. There is only the construction of the new. Let that sentence sear itself into your mind. Burn it onto the back of your eyelids. Any thought you have of reconciliation, of proving her wrong, of making her see the man she lost, eradicate it. That is the ghost of the supplicant you used to be, and his whispers will lead you back to the same gallows. Your reconstruction is not emotional. It is tactical. It is the cold, methodical assembly of a weapon, and that weapon is you. The mission is not to win her back. The mission is to make winning her back an irrelevant, laughable concept, a footnote in the history of a man who has so thoroughly surpassed his former self that he barely recognizes the weakling in old photographs. Your first command is to cut the excess. Look at your life as a military commander looks at a compromise. What is non-essential? What is weighing you down? What is providing intelligence to the enemy? This starts with the digital umbilical cord. You will sever it. Not with a dramatic announcement, not with a blocking ceremony that screams of emotional reaction. You will simply vanish. Her access to your life is a privilege she has forfeited. Your social media becomes a ghost town to her. You do not post for her. You do not post about your new journey. You post nothing. You remove her, her friends, anyone who serves as a listening post. You are creating a black hole of information. In a world of constant broadcasting, the man who can go silent, who can disappear from the radar, becomes a figure of immense power and mystery. You must also cut the excess from your mind. The sentimentality, the replaying of memories, the analysis of her last words. It is all poison. Every moment you spend in the past is a moment you are not building your future. You must treat these thoughts like enemy propaganda and shoot them on sight. Next, you install silence. This is your new operating system. Silence is not the absence of communication. It is the most powerful form of it. When she inevitably sends a probe, a breadcrumb text, a casual "how are you," a reaction to an old photo, your response is nothing. You must understand the anatomy of her action. It is not an olive branch. It is a power check. She is pinging your location to see if you are still in the same emotional prison she left you in. She is checking to see if her key still works in your lock. By not responding, you are not being rude. You are communicating a new reality in a language she cannot misinterpret. You are saying, your access code has expired. Your transmissions are no longer received at this frequency. You are irrelevant. This silence is dominance. Her mind will race to fill the vacuum you have created. Has he moved on? Did he ever even care? Her certainty is shattered, and in its place you plant a seed of doubt. A wants to be loved will be discarded. A man who imposes his presence will be feared. Your absence, your silence, is now your presence. Do not reconquer. Replace with a sharper silence. This brings us to the doctrine of scarcity. You were an all-you-can-eat buffet of attention, validation, and support. Now the kitchen is closed, permanently. You must reinstall scarcity not as a tactic to get her back, but as a fundamental principle of your new existence. Your time, your energy, your focus. These are now the most valuable commodities you possess, and they are to be invested only in assets that yield a return. That asset is you. This means when you disappear, you truly disappear. You don't lurk on her profiles from a fake account. You don't ask mutual friends about her. You commit to the void. You are not playing hard to get. You are hard to find. You are on a mission, and that mission has no room for ghosts. If, for logistical reasons, interaction is absolutely unavoidable, it will be minimal and unpredictable. Your communication is a tool, not a conversation. It is brief, to the point, and devoid of all emotion. You are a surgeon making a necessary incision, clean, quick, and sterile. You answer the direct question and nothing more. You volunteer no information. You ask no questions about her life. You are a gray rock. You are uninteresting. You are a closed loop. This unpredictability is key. Sometimes you might reply to a logistical text in seconds, other times days later, or not at all. She will not find a pattern. She will not be able to get a read on you. You have destroyed her ability to anticipate your moves, and in doing so, you have dismantled her power over you. While this campaign of silence and scarcity is being waged externally, your real work, the great work, begins internally. This is the total and ruthless focus on building your own hierarchy. Your pain, frustration, you will transmute this raw, chaotic energy into fuel. You will become an alchemist of the soul, turning the lead of your despair into the gold of your dominance. This reconstruction is built on 4 pillars. The first is the physical. Your body is not a temple. It is a fortress. You will train it with the discipline of a soldier preparing for war. This is not about getting a revenge body to post online. That is the action of a boy seeking validation. This is about forging armor. It is about the mental fortitude built through physical suffering. It is about the respect you command, from yourself first, and then from the world, when you carry yourself as a man who is physically formidable. The gym is your forge. Every rep is an act of defiance. Every drop of sweat is a purification of your past weakness. The second pillar is the financial. Money is a weapon system. It is stored power. It buys freedom. It buys options, and it broadcasts competence. You will attack your financial situation with the intensity of a starving wolf. You will work longer, smarter, and with more focus than ever before. You will eliminate frivolous spending. You will invest in yourself, in your skills, in assets that grow. She saw you as a depreciating asset. You will become a blue-chip stock on a meteoric rise. Your financial power is not for her. It is not to buy her things or win her back. It is to build a foundation so solid that the departure of any single individual is an irrelevant market fluctuation, not a catastrophic crash. The third pillar is the social. You surrendered your social sovereignty. Now you will reclaim it with prejudice. You will reconnect with the men you abandoned. You will build a new network of high-caliber allies. Your social life is not a distraction. It is intelligence gathering. It is alliance building. It is the establishment of your value in the tribe. You will learn to navigate social environments with a quiet confidence, not as a performer seeking approval, but as an observer, a strategist. You will be the man who speaks less, but whose words carry more weight. Your value is not determined by her presence next to you, but by the respect you command from other men and the intrigue you generate in other women. Be the absence that weighs heavily, not the presence that begs. The final pillar is the symbolic. This is the culmination of the other 3. It is your reputation. It is the aura of power you project without saying a word. It is the sum total of your discipline, your resources, and your network. It is the man you have become. This transformation is a plan, not a hope. It is a series of deliberate, strategic actions executed with cold precision day after day. You are not healing. You are building. You are not moving on. You are advancing to a higher strategic position. The machine of your old self is broken, and you have just been handed the blueprints and the raw materials for a far superior model. The choice to begin construction is yours and yours alone. You are ready to pick up the tools and begin the great work, then signal your commitment. Like this video to acknowledge that you are leaving the ruins behind. Subscribe to this channel and activate all notifications, for this is no longer entertainment. It is your new strategic command center. Now report for duty in the comments below. I want you to answer this question with absolute coldness and honesty. Which of the 4 pillars of your empire The physical, the financial, the social, or the symbolic? Did you allow to crumble the most? And what is the very first tactical action you will execute in the next 24 hours to begin its reconstruction? Declare your first move. Let this be the public record of your vow. The war for your sovereignty has already begun. Let's return to the man in the rubble. The ghost haunted by the question, how? For months, that question was your tormentor. It was the central axis around which your pain revolved. You believed the answer was a key that would unlock your past, that would somehow make sense of the demolition. The answer was never the key. The answer was the final wall of your prison. Because as long as you were asking how she did it, you were still herself. You were still a citizen in her empire of indifference, looking up at the throne and marveling at the architecture of your own destruction. The ultimate power move was not to find the answer. It was to make the question obsolete. Your silence was not a strategy to win her back. Let the weak-minded believe that. Your silence was the sound of you leaving the game. Imagine a grandmaster sitting at a chessboard, realizing his opponent is not playing to win, but simply to dismantle his pieces for the sheer pleasure of it. Does he keep playing, hoping to salvage a draw? Does he flip the board in a rage? No. The true master simply stands up and walks away. He leaves the opponent alone with her meaningless victory, her captured pieces now just useless plastic on an empty board. You did not flip the board. You walked out of the room. And in the deafening silence you left behind, she is now forced to confront the only thing she truly fears, the echo of her own hollowness. Your absence is now a tangible force. It is a presence more powerful than your neediness ever was. She will check for you. It is an inevitability, a function of her programming. She will look for the digital ghost, the man she erased, expecting to find you still there, a sad satellite trapped in her orbit. And she will find nothing. A void, a black hole where your life used to be broadcast for her consumption. This is not ignorance. This is a new form of physics you have imposed upon the world. It is the physics of your irrelevance to her, and hers to you. You have achieved a state of such profound internal validation, built on the pillars of your physical, financial, and social reconstruction, that her opinion is now just noise from a distant star. It takes light years to reach you, and by the time it does, it is so faint it barely registers. This is emotional revenge. It is not a hot, fiery act of retribution. It is the cold, silent, indifferent expansion of your own universe, pushing her reality further and further away until it is no longer visible to the naked eye. You see, you were obsessed with the playbook she was using. You thought that by learning her rules, you could beat her at her own game. Fatal miscalculation, born from the mind of the victim. The goal was never to learn her playbook. The goal was to write your own. A book with laws of emotional gravity so powerful that they dictate the terms of your own existence. She did not undergo a metamorphosis. She applied a new coat of paint to the same crumbling structure of external validation. Her strength is a costume. Your power is a forged weapon, smelted in the fires of your own discipline. She built an armor to protect herself from the world. You have become a force of nature that the world must now protect itself from. Respect is not given. It is not earned through good deeds or quiet servitude. It is taken. It is the tax you impose on the world simply by the weight of your presence, or more potently, by the calculated impact of your absence. You will never beg for a seat at the table again. You will build your own table, and the kings and queens of the world will petition you for an invitation. Her chapter in your life is closed. But you did not just turn the page. You burned the book, scattered the ashes, and used the carbon to forge the diamond tip of your spear. The man she knew is dead. He was a casualty of a war you didn't know you were fighting. Do not mourn him. He was the price of your ascension. The empire you are building now is not for her to see. It is for you to rule, and its first and only law is the one you have tattooed on your very soul. You are the source. You are the sun, and the universe orbits you. If this final truth is the bedrock upon which you will now build your legacy, then make your allegiance known. This is not a request. It is a summons. Like this transmission to signal that your transformation is irreversible. Subscribe to this channel and activate all notifications, because the strategies deployed from here are not for the man you were, but for the king you are becoming. And in the comments below, I demand you answer this one final question. It is the most important question you will ever answer. What is the one pathetic lie about love and relationships you were taught, that you now recognize was the blueprint for your own prison? And what is the one cold, brutal truth you will replace it with to guarantee you are never caged again? The world will bear witness to your declaration of sovereignty. The war isn't over when you win. It's over when your opponent becomes irrelevant.